Once, there were two armies. They stood on two hills. A big valley lay between them. One army belonged to Israel, God's people. The other army belonged to the Philistines. They were enemies of God's people. And the Philistines had a secret weapon, or not so secret. He was a giant. His name was Goliath. He was huge, taller than any man, stronger than any tree. He wore heavy armor, a bronze helmet on his head, a shiny coat of mail that weighed so much, greaves of bronze on his legs, a bronze javelin slung between his shoulders. He looked terrifying. He was terrifying. Every morning Goliath would stomp down into the valley. Every evening he would do it again. His voice was like thunder. It boomed across the hills. "Choose a man," he would roar at the Israelites. "Let him come down to me. If he can fight me and kill me, we will be your servants. But if I overcome him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us." He shouted, "I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together." He mocked them. He mocked their God. For 40 long days this giant shouted his terrible challenge. 40 long days of fear. The Israelite soldiers heard him. Oh yes, they heard him. Their hearts would sink. Their knees would knock. They would look at Goliath, so big, so strong. Then they would look at each other, so small, so scared. When the giant stepped out and shouted his awful words, the soldiers of Israel would run. They would try to hide. A great fear fell upon them all. No one dared to fight the giant, not one soldier, not one captain. The whole army was paralyzed, frozen by the sight and sound of this one enormous, angry man. The air in their camp was thick with dread. King Saul was the king of Israel. He was tall, he was meant to be brave, but even King Saul was afraid. He saw Goliath. He heard the giant's boasts, and his heart trembled too. What could he do? His best soldiers were terrified. He offered a great reward, riches, his own daughter in marriage, no taxes for the family, anything for the man who would fight Goliath. But still, no one came forward. The king looked at his men. Their faces were pale. Their eyes were wide with fear. The whole nation waited, and worried, and despaired. The shadow of Goliath loomed large over them all. Then, one day, someone new came to the camp. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't wear armor. He carried no sword. It was David, a young boy, a shepherd boy. His father, Jesse, had sent him. "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread," Jesse said, "and run to the camp to your brothers." David also had 10 cheeses for their commander. He was just an errand boy, bringing lunch. He was small. He was young. He looked after sheep. He was not supposed to be anywhere near a battle. He was the youngest of 8 brothers. His older brothers were the soldiers. David arrived at the edge of the camp. He heard a great noise, a horrible, booming noise. It was Goliath, shouting his daily challenge. David saw the soldiers running. He saw the fear on their faces. He listened to the giant's terrible words. Goliath was insulting Israel. He was insulting God. David was shocked. Why was everyone so afraid? Why did no one fight this man who dared to speak against the armies of the living God? His brothers were angry. "Why have you come down here?" they snapped. "And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness?" They thought he was just being nosy. But David kept asking questions. "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" he asked. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His words were brave. His words were full of fire. Someone heard him. Someone told King Saul. "There is a boy here," they said. "He speaks of fighting the giant." So David was brought before the king. King Saul looked at David. So young, so small. Not a warrior, just a shepherd boy. How could this boy fight a giant? David stood before King Saul. He said, "Let no one's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." Saul looked at the boy again. "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him," Saul said. "For you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth." But David did not back down. He told Saul about his sheep. When a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, David explained, "I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth." He trusted God to help him then. He trusted God to help him now. King Saul listened. Maybe it was David's brave words. Maybe it was his own desperation. He said to David, "Go and the Lord be with you." Then King Saul tried to help. He wanted David to be safe. He dressed David in his own tunic. He put a helmet of bronze on his head. He armed him with his own coat of mail. Heavy armor, strong armor, the kind a king would wear, the kind a warrior would need. Surely this would protect the boy. Surely this would give him a chance against the mighty Goliath. Saul wanted to give David every advantage he could. David fastened Saul's sword over the tunic. He tried to walk. Clank, clunk. It was no good. The armor was too big, too heavy. He was not used to it. He felt trapped inside it. This was not his way of fighting. This was not how God had taught him to be strong. "I cannot go in these," David said to Saul, "for I am not used to them." So he took them off. He put down the heavy helmet. He slipped out of the weighty coat of mail. He unbuckled the king's great sword. He would not fight like Saul. He would fight like David. He would fight with God's help. Instead, David took his shepherd's staff in his hand. Simple wood. Then he went down to the stream. The water gurgled over the rocks. He looked carefully. He chose 5 smooth stones from the brook. Not just any stones. Smooth stones, perfect for a sling. He put them in his shepherd's bag, the one he carried at his side. His sling was in his hand. That was all. A staff, a sling, 5 smooth stones, no sword, no spear, no shield. These were the weapons of a shepherd boy. But David knew they were enough, because his real weapon was his faith in God. The Philistines saw David coming. He was so small. Goliath looked down at him. He was disgusted. He was insulted. "Am I a dog?" Goliath roared, his voice full of scorn. "That you come to me with sticks?" The giant glared at the boy. He could not believe his eyes. This was Israel's champion? This little shepherd? Goliath cursed David by his Philistine gods. He shouted, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." The tension was like a tightrope. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. What would happen now? David was not afraid. He did not tremble. He did not run. He stood tall as a shepherd boy can stand before a giant. He had a secret strength, a mighty power on his side. It was not his own strength, it was God's strength. He looked right at Goliath. His voice was clear, his voice was strong. It carried across the valley. Everyone heard him. The Philistines heard him. The Israelites heard him. King Saul heard him, and God heard him too. David was ready to speak truth to the giant. "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin," David called out. His words were brave, his words were true. "But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." David was not fighting for himself, he was fighting for God. He continued, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." As Goliath moved closer, ready to crush this boy, David did something surprising. He ran. He ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. He was not running away. He was running to the fight. He reached into his shepherd's bag. He took out 1 smooth stone. Just 1. He placed it carefully in his sling. He began to whirl the sling around his head. Round and round. Faster and faster. The wind whistled. The stone was a blur. Then, with all his might, David let the stone fly. Straight and true, aimed with a shepherd's skill. The stone shot through the air. It hit Goliath, right on his forehead. The giant's eyes widened. He stumbled. He swayed. Then, with a mighty crash, Goliath fell. Face down on the ground, he did not move. The giant was defeated. The Philistines stared. They could not believe it. Their champion, beaten by a boy with a stone. The Israelites, who had been so afraid, let out a huge cheer, a sound of pure joy and victory. David had won. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, the story says. The Israelites then chased the Philistines away, their hearts full of courage. God had shown that faith and bravery, even in someone small, can conquer the biggest fears.